All right. This session is part of Dave's Career Conversation series. And it's on career discussions. And this is about interview skills, success skills. So, again, there are 5 parts of the series. First was career fit identification, your personality and work values. Second was career opportunity research, exploring options. Third was career branding, resumes, cover letters, and posts. 4 was career discussions, interview skills that create more success. And 5, and that's this one. And 5 is career transitions, pivoting a chaotic world. So, on success for you in this session, would you agree it would be successful if first, you gain a sense of some more strategies for effective interviews? Second, get more insight into the process. What's going on behind the scenes before you get the interview, up to the interview, post the interview? What's going on behind the company's process? Third is your role and the most common mistakes to avoid. 4 is criteria to help you evaluate different options. And 5, questions, maybe one of the most important ones, questions you can ask that have a huge effect on whether you're successful or not in getting the interview and getting the job. Right? So, what are the success goals? Well, the most common mistake is going in and answering interviewers' questions and leave. It might not sound like a mistake. Trust me, by the end of this particular session, you'll understand it's a mistake. 2, process. Discuss the interviewing process from the company view. You got to develop a game plan that works. And 3, as a result, well, you'll have a better interview, you'll get a better offer, and you'll make a more effective transition to your new responsibilities at the new company. So the interview process, well, what isn't it? It's not to sell yourself. It's not a history of your experience. It's not everything you thought you did that was great. It's not impressive jargon, unless it applies to the industry. It's not you doing most of the talking. It's not just them evaluating you. It's not just jumping from a situation you don't like. It's not just showing up and winging it. It's not behaving different than the real you, and it is not just a practice session. The interview purpose is they get to know you, and you get to know them. Is a mutual determination that you're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for you. So, what's the typical voyage? Well, somehow they became aware of you, right? They know you, they know about you, they know you're alive. Second is that first cut, right? You've been selected out of the interview pile, the resume pile, and you look a little bit more interesting in that pile of resumes and cover letters, and we want to talk to you. Third is the initial introduction by the gatekeeper, either the internal HR person or the external, recruiter, but whatever it is that's the front line, have that quick conversation to say, yeah, do you make sense to send forward and tie up the time and type the resources of more senior people in the company actually interview? Fourth is actually the initial interview. And again, it's generally a comprehensive screening by that gatekeeper. If you make it past then, now you're down to likely the final 5. And then the final 5, it's the 5th step, the team interviews. It's usually the hiring manager and some peers and maybe some cross-functional leaders and maybe someone above or below that reports that hiring manager. And then generally comes, if you get through that pass, well, the decision interview. And that's generally the hiring manager or the HR person. They want to assure that you really are excited before they actually make the offer. And then often at that interview or the next step, they make you the offer. You got the job. Now the onboarding, that first day of excitement, that new work. Well, what's the there for? Well, the objective is you get an interview. You understand if you think you fit, they understand if you think they fit, you fit them. And you have insights to make the right decision. So what's the requirement? They know what they are really getting. Pretend you, the on show you know what you're really getting, and you mutually agree that you're joining would be a great fit for everybody. So what's the strategy? What's the focus? The first focus is you learning about them individually, as a department, as an organization, as an industry. Second, you focus on asking great questions where you gain important fit insights from what they share. Is this a place you're going to want to join? 3 is focus. You uncovering their QBQ. And what's the QBQ? It's the question behind the question. When they ask you a question, it's natural to respond with a fact. Why do they want that fact? How are they using that fact? What opinions being formed behind that fact? And if you assume you could be wrong, they could be wrong, and it ends up decisions for the wrong reasons. 4, focus on you reinforcing where you are the fit they want and is what you are and what you actually like to do and are good at doing. If this is the focus, you evaluate learning versus the criteria that you set for a successful long-term relationship. And overall, the end, you feel passionate about the role, your boss, your department, the company, and the industry. So what you need to do is apply the why theory. We've talked about the why theory. The most important asset that you have, that the department has, the division has, the company has, is trust. And at the individual level, right? What's the recipe for trust? It's demonstrating that you respect them, you care about them. And what are the ingredients? Well, the first, when you explain things, don't just explain who was involved, what was involved, when, where, and how, which is what we're wired to do. We don't realize we're not wired to explain why. When you don't explain why, you're not demonstrating respect and that you really care. And 2 is that you ask a lot of really good questions. That demonstrates respect for them and that you care for them. And 3 is take good notes. That may sound funny, but when you don't take notes, every reason they think you might not have taken notes, perception, reduces trust. Maybe they think you don't care, or you weren't listening, or it's not important, or just wasted their time. Whatever it is, it drops trust. Now, when you have trust, you can go to the next side for both you and them. It's the analysis and communications, the thinking chess, all the things going on in your head and how different things affect other things, and deciphering what's really important, what's not as important, what's not true, what you can't, the information you can't get, the assumption you're going to make, and you got to put it all together in a way it makes sense. And then the communication. So what does that create? Insight for you as you think, insight for them as you communicate. And what's the recipe? Well, the recipe, are there any important who or what or when or where or how or any combination of those? But how do you know how important it is? It's the effect. It's the why. You want to focus on the why. And what causes behavior and action? Well, for most people, they're driven, they're motivated. The behavior is based on what you can help them avoid, experiences that they don't want, and what can you help them gain. So the recipe is what's in it for you, right? Or from this summer, what's in it for me? And what's in it for me, for people, drives individuals' behavior. Now, have some criteria, some insight, what to look for. And this comes right out of a book called Good to Great. There was over 120,000 employees in this research, and it broke down from a company standpoint and from an employee standpoint. For a company standpoint, when there were very good responses to these 12 questions, it predicted 4 things: profitability, customer satisfaction, employee engagement, and profitability. From an employee standpoint, it actually predicted were they likely to stay. Well, if it predicts those things well, ask yourself, first, they have what you need, right? In your questions, can you decipher as best you can? Do they know what's expected from me at work? And will you have the right materials and equipment to get it done? Often you can do that through observation and through some questions, whatever. 2, does it look like a place you're going to enjoy being there? At work, will you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day? At least once a week. Is it the type of culture that gives recognition and praise for doing a good work? The person you're reporting to, Do they seem to care about you as an individual, not just a worker to get something done? And will there be someone at work who at least encourages your continuous development? The third key one is, do you belong? We've talked about it. Culture eats strategy for lunch. Do you belong in this culture? At work, well, your opinions, it seems like they take various people's opinions, not just their own. Is there a mission and purpose about this company that makes you feel good about the job? Does it look like your coworkers are committed to doing quality work? And will you likely develop personal friendships at work? And the last, is there a future? Can you grow? Is it the kind of place that at least every 6 months, someone's going to be talking to you about your progress, and we have the opportunities to work and learn and grow? And statistically, we know most people end up becoming unmotivated and unhappy and leave. And these are the 12 major reasons they leave. So try to pick up an insight of these in the interview process. And when you have criteria, like anything else in life, you make better decisions. And I suggest you use, when you answer questions, what I call the Carl method, right? What are the key requirements? One, keep your answers short and focused and strategic. What does that mean? Well, your communication should give a quick overview. Here are the 1, 2, or 3 things. Second, the details, 1, 2, or 3 things. And third, the essence, the 1, 2, 3 things, and keep it short. So how do you do that? Well, through Carl. First, context, right? The important aspects of the situation that are emotionally charged, because people react to emotion. Here was the obstacle, here was the challenge, and here's a few of the key facts. That's context. Keep it short. 1, 2, max 3 sentences. 2, what was the action? Well, based on that, here was the collaborative decision that was made, i.e., it wasn't just you, it involved other people. And 2, the collaborative implementation, and share that in 2 or 3 or 4 sentences. And then share, and this was the result. It was successful because of A, B, and C outcomes. Leave the rest out. Focus on the goal, the most important takeaways that'll help form their opinions to make a decision. If they want more detail, they'll ask for it. And then last, the L. And here was your personal 1 or 2, 3 key lessons learned. Use the Carl method, right? What's this interview strategy? Well, you want to apply the why theory. Strategically generating trust, educating them for insight, and helping them see what's in it for them. The experience that can help, avoid or gain. 2, use a visual story. Use Carl. 3, match cause and effect. The cause is the who, what, when, where, how, and any combination of those. The effect is the why. That prioritizes it. That's what's important. Share what they wouldn't expect, because what people don't expect, frankly, what they tend to remember. So make sure one thing about you that you share wherever you bring it in, they wouldn't expect, and act like you're in their living room. Act like you're in your living room. Show teeth. Pretend they've been a friend for a couple of years. You're just trying to get to know something more about them, and they're trying to get something more about you, and you're enjoying it. You've got energy. But it's about them. They're in your living room. So questions to be ready for. When they say, tell me about you, what's their question behind the question? They're looking to see, are you professional? Are you confident? Are you clear? So knowing they may ask that, create your Carl story. What was the Carl story? Here's the context. Here's the obstacle challenge. Here are a couple of the key facts. 2, here's the action that we as a team took and how we implement it. And the result, this is what we achieved. This was my personal lesson learned. 2, they may ask, what are your favorite courses if you just graduated? Are they really wondering, what were your interests? What's your passion? What's your natural capability? Rate your 1 Carl story. Third question they often ask, why choose you? What are they looking for? Did you come prepared? Were you focused? Could you explain why? So for example, one of the ones I used to ask, and why you choose, I look to see if they even checked our website, right? Did they come prepared? Were they focused? Could they explain why? Apply the Carl method. 4, they often ask, give me an example of a decision-making process. What are they you really looking for? Were you collaborative? Were you team oriented? Were you open to ideas outside of yours? That's a key one. Use the Carl method. You often ask, give me an example of a difficult situation. What are they looking for? Are you mature? You have insight into it beyond your own needs and wants and emotions. And were you disciplined, doing what you don't want to do? And frankly, you did it anyway. Apply a Carl story. Another one, tell me when you exceeded expectations. What are they looking for? Did you take initiative? Do you have drive? And are you resourceful? Do you try to bully your way through things? Or do you work around obstacles? Create your Carl story. And give me an example of a complex problem. What are they really looking for? Can you demonstrate critical thinking and respect for others? Create a Carl story. Now, when they ask you a question, you sort of know this is an important one. Your initial response should be, first, try to find the question behind the question if possible. Watch great politicians, how they handle it. What's the first thing they do? You know what? That was a great question. That was a really interesting question. I want to thank you for the question. Now, you do it for a few things. One, given the why theory, it's demonstrating care respect. Two is if you do it slowly, it buys you a little bit of time. Two, try to find out what's the question behind the question. What's the opinion they were looking for facts to either support or not support. Different ways of doing that. First, restate the question. Okay, this is what I think I heard you ask. Or say, in hearing a question, here's the essence of what I think I heard. They always ask more. Or third, I'm really curious. I'm going to answer your question, but before I do, to make sure I put it in context, why did you ask that question? They almost always ask more. Why? Because here's the lessons learned behind questions. The initial response is designed to generate facts. How do they use the facts? To summarize and form an opinion. The initial follow-up questions, frankly, just generally generate more facts. But the key is when we run out of facts, we get to what's really important. The emotional experience that we're trying to avoid or gain. And we come to that conclusion based on opinions. And why opinions? Because with opinions, we can defend them. We can't be wrong. If we make decisions purely on facts, we can be called out. So what are some of my favorite questions to the interviewer, right? And the result is the more they talk, the more they're selling themselves, frankly, about me. I'm demonstrating care and respect. So some of the questions I'd love to ask the interviewer, what led you to choose this career? What led you to choose this area to live? And what led you to choose this company in this industry? Now, what's the result of that? One, you're building trust because you're demonstrating respect and you care about them. And what's the action? Well, for them, their experience is positive. Another favorite set of questions about the company. And the result, again, they sell themselves about you. Here are some of the questions. If I ask customers, what would they say is similar about your company versus competitors? Things that you have in common. And I follow up the question. Well, what would they say customers who say is very different about your company versus your competitors, and why? Third is, what would customers say is your sweet spot? In other words, if it's this specific demographic, you're a far superior choice. And why? And what are you really getting at? Well, you're building trust because you're demonstrating care and respect about them. But most importantly, you're gaining insight. Do they even have a strong, passionate, strategic, competitive advantage? Or do they view themselves somewhat, frankly, as a commodity? What's the action? For them, the experience is positive. They're selling themselves on you. One of my favorite questions about prior hires, right? The better they do that, they're selling themselves on you. How might that sound? My guess is you've had some hires you thought would be good and ended up, well, you thought they would be great and ended up good. And others you thought would be just good and ended up great. Never say a mistake you made, right? That's like saying, when was the last time you were an idiot, right? You follow that question, good to great, great, good to good. What did you learn from that? What did the great ones do differently than the good ones? Result, again, you demonstrate respect and care about them. Two, you'll get insight in the criteria they're probably using for this role, and will you even fit? But for them, experience is positive. They're selling themselves on you. Another key thing is I want to get around, because culture eats strategy for lunch. And the better your question about culture, they sell themselves on you. The question is, if I walked into one of your facilities and then walked to one of competitors' facilities, would I notice anything different in the layout of the facility and the way people interact socially and the kinds of conversations and the way they communicate and the way they make decisions? As a result, demonstrating care and respect for them. You're getting insight into their culture. And again, are you a good fit for them? Are they a good fit for you? And the action, again, for them, positive experience. And the wrap up. If I really think this is something I may want, one of my wrap up questions is, I was preparing for today's interview. I was pretty interested in this company and the industry and the opportunity, but now I've talked to you, I'm even more excited about the opportunity to join this team. What are the next steps? What's the result? You're demonstrating respect and care about them. It's a positive experience. My favorite last question. I was a little smarter. What questions didn't I ask that I probably should have? If they share one, pause, a pregnant pause, and then say, oh, wait, I do have one more question. And ask the exact question, the same words they just used. You know what usually happens? They laugh. And sometimes they answer it. You know what? They feel good. And the other common mistake is, no, you really ask good questions. And when they say that, they are drawing into their opinions and selling themselves on you. But the overall result is you demonstrated respect and care about them, and the action was a positive experience for them. A quick review, the interview process. They get to know you, you get to know them, and there's mutual determination. Are you a good fit? What's the obstacle? You focusing on you. What's the key to success? Having criteria. You have what you'll need. You'll enjoy being there. You feel like you belong, and you have an opportunity to professionally grow. And the core to answering their questions is find the QBQ, the question behind the question they're using to form an opinion with their facts. So ask those proactive questions about the interviewer, why they made their decision, about the company, differences versus competition, about prior hires, the lessons learned, difference between good and great, and about the culture, how people communicate and make decisions. So in summary, in your career, it's your journey. There is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than you are capable of living. Nelson Mandela. The future depends on what you do today. Mahatma Gandhi. I'm not a product of my circumstances. I'm a product of my decisions. Stephen Covey. Your asset is your time. You are the CEO of your own company. Invest your career time to get the best return on investment. Spiritually, life fulfillment, work-life balance, financially, whatever is most important in the career side of your life's journey. So, I hope today on interviewing skills and that discussion was successful for you.